Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're diving into something absolutely crucial for anyone looking to build a business in the Keystone State. We are totally demystifying the Pennsylvania fictitious name process. So, if you've ever felt completely overwhelmed by the legal jargon, the endless paperwork, or honestly just those quirky local rules, well, you're in exactly the right place. Imagine launching your new business in Pennsylvania with a unique brand name that's legally protected and recognized. This guide will show you exactly how to do that by registering a DBA today. So here's our roadmap for getting your brand legally launched. We'll start with the DBA basics and requirements, then move through the step-by-step registration process. After that, we'll cover Pennsylvania-specific rules, post-registration and maintenance, look at some real-life business examples, and finally, wrap up with our conclusion and resources. Let's get into it. Section 1. DBA Basics and Requirements. Before we actually file anything, we really need to understand what exactly a DBA is. Now, under Pennsylvania law, the official term you'll see everywhere is fictitious name, but don't let that throw you off. A fictitious name is the exact same thing as a DBA, which simply stands for doing business as. You might also hear it called a trade name. Basically, if you're operating your business under an assumed name that's different from your proper legal name, you're using a fictitious name. It's just a way to make sure the public knows exactly who they're dealing with. So who actually needs to file this? Well, the state requires it for pretty much anyone who isn't using their true exact legal name. For example, if you're a sole proprietor and you use anything other than your given first and last name, you need one. General partnerships, if your business name doesn't include the surnames of all the partners, yep, you need one. And for formal entities like LLCs or corporations, if you decide to market yourself under a brand name that's even slightly different from the exact name on your official formation documents, you guessed it, you've got to register a DBA. The only true exception here is if you're operating strictly under your exact legal entity name. Section 2. The step-by-step registration process. This is where we get into the actionable steps to actually get your brand registered. There are basically 3 primary things you need to do to legally register your brand. Step 1, you have to run a name search on PennFile. That's the state's online database. Your name has to be completely unique and distinguishable from businesses already registered in PA. Step 2 is filling out the official application, which is known as Form DSCB 54-311. And Step 3, just submit that form along with your state filing fee. The cool thing is you can do all of this online through the Pennsylvania Business One-Stop Hub, or if you prefer the old-school way, you can just do it by mail. Now, I know Form DSCB 54-311 sounds incredibly intimidating, but let's break it down right now. It's actually just a super straightforward 2-page document. You just need to write down the exact fictitious name you want and give a brief description of what your business actually does. You'll also need to list the full names and addresses of all the owners or interested parties and get signatures from everyone you list. But listen up, because here is the most common mistake people make. You absolutely must provide a physical street address for your principal place of business. Under state law, using just a P.O. box is a huge no-no. If you only list a P.O. box, your application is going to be immediately rejected. Section 3. Pennsylvania-specific rules. Let's talk about some of the unique bureaucratic quirks and, of course, the financial expectations in the state. Okay, let's talk money. The baseline state filing fee for your registration form is $70. That's just a one-time fee made payable to the Department of State. Now, if you ever decide to amend or withdraw your DBA down the road, that'll be another $70. But take a look at that middle line, newspaper publication. It's estimated between $60 and $200. This is a variable cost that definitely catches a lot of new entrepreneurs completely off guard. And that brings us to one of Pennsylvania's oldest, most old-school rules, the newspaper publication requirement. If any individual is named as a party to the registration, like a sole proprietor or a partner, you are legally required to officially publish a notice of your DBA. You literally have to take out an ad in 2 different newspapers in the county where your business is located. And if your county has one of those has to be a legal journal. But here's the real kicker. You don't even mail these proofs of publication to the state. You just have to keep them safely locked away in your permanent business records. Now, you might be sitting there wondering, well, what happens if I just skip all this? The stakes are actually pretty real. If you operate under an unregistered DBA, you can't legally enforce any contract signed under that name in Pennsylvania courts. Plus, the state can actually hit you with a civil penalty of up to $500 for knowingly using an unregistered fictitious name. Not exactly worth the risk, right? Section 4. Post-registration and maintenance. So, what happens after you submit the paperwork and how do you stay compliant for the long haul?
Before we go any further, it is incredibly important to clear up some major misconceptions about DBAs. Remember, a fictitious name is really just a public alias. It does not create a brand new separate legal entity like an LLC or corporation does. And because of that, it absolutely does not provide you with any personal liability protection whatsoever. On top of that, registering a fictitious name in PA doesn't magically grant you exclusive ownership, trademarks, or copyrights to that name. Other businesses might still be able to register it, which is why federal trademarks are a totally separate process.
So, once you hit submit on your filing, you can generally expect a standard processing time of about 7 to 10 business days. Though, to be fair, online filings usually process a bit faster. And here's an interesting quirk. While a Pennsylvania fictitious name registration never actually expires, there is a unique maintenance rule. It's called a decennial report. Every 10 years, you just have to file a quick form to confirm with the state that yes, your DBA is still active. It's not a renewal, you're just confirming you're still using it. Section 5. Real-life business examples. Let's ground some of these abstract legal concepts with a few practical scenarios. The rule for sole proprietors is super straightforward. Let's say we have Jason Smith. Jason's exact legal name is his business's default legal name. But Jason's opening a masonry store, and he doesn't want his storefront sign to just say Jason Smith. He wants it to say Jason's Masonry. Because Jason's Masonry is different from his exact legal name, he has to file a DBA the absolute second he adopts that new public-facing brand. But this doesn't just apply to individuals. It applies to formal entities, too. Take a look at the middle example there, Mark's Seafood LLC. That is the official registered name of the business. But let's say Mark decides to open a totally new restaurant concept and wants to call it Under the Sea. If he didn't have a DBA, Mark would have to spend the time and money to form an entirely new, separate LLC. But by simply filing a DBA, his existing LLC can legally operate that new brand. The exact same logic applies to a corporation like ABC Corp operating as Al's Rugs, or a sole proprietor like Emily Clark going by Clark's Creative Studio. Section 6. Conclusion and resources. Let's wrap things up and get you ready to take action. All right, here are your core actionable takeaways. First things first, always search the pen file database to make sure the name you want is actually available and distinguishable. Next, make sure you accurately complete Form DSCB 44-311. Remember, use a physical address, no P.O. boxes. Submit that with your $70 fee. If you're an individual owner, definitely don't forget to fulfill your local county newspaper publication requirements. And finally, always keep in mind that your DBA is a brilliant marketing alias, but it is not a legal liability shield. If you're ready to get started today, your go-to resources are the Pennsylvania Department of State website over at dos.pa.gov and the incredibly helpful PA Business One-Stop Shop Hub. You can run all your name searches and file your application directly through their online portals. It really is that easy. And before we wrap up, I do need to officially note this explainer is for informational purposes only and does not constitute legal advice. Viewers should consult with a qualified attorney or official government representatives for personalized guidance regarding DBA registration in Pennsylvania. Thank you so much for joining me today. So, I have to ask, what is your new Pennsylvania brand going to be? And are you ready to make it official today?